Today we'll be doing a pumpkin drawing. The little art kit was sent home with each student in a bag that looked like this. Inside the art kit are some oil pastels. You'll need them today along with your sketchbook, pencils, and some blending tools. Don't worry if you don't have the oil pastels, you can also use crayons. It's really not a big deal what you color it with, just the oil pastels are really fun to blend. You might have some laying around if you ever got an art kit as a gift and you found these like random crayon things that were really soft and you never really knew what to do with them. Well, I'm going to show you today. So let's start our picture by drawing an oval, a tall oval in the middle of your page. This is going to be the start of our pumpkin drawing. It's a little different than how people normally draw pumpkins, and that's what makes it special. It has a lot more form, and it's going to look a little bit more three-dimensional than a regular pumpkin that's just kind of like a circle with lines going down. You can pause this video as you go and draw along with me in your sketchbook. So get your pencil ready. We're going to add on some more shapes to our oval, but it's okay. You can pause as many times as you need to. After you get that main oval and you've added one to the left side, we're going to try and add a symmetrical shape to the right side. This can be a little tricky to try and get something the same on both sides. So what I often do is take my whole paper and rotate it upside down. That way your brain can see the shapes in a different way from a different angle, and you'll be able to see what needs to be bigger or smaller or what needs to be fixed. And remember, when you're drawing, it's okay to erase. It's okay to fix things, and it's okay to take your time. Here I am fixing up my shape for the third time. See, even an artist and an art teacher needs to fix theirs up. Then I added a little shape to the left side and a little curved shape to the right side. The shapes get a little bit smaller as they go out to give the illusion that the pumpkin is really, really round, and that's sort of what would be called the turn of the form. So I have my shapes, I'm fixing it up, and trying to get it to be as symmetrical as possible, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Even a real pumpkin in a pumpkin patch isn't always perfectly shaped. One last little layer to the left, and one last little thin layer to the right of a curved line. So you should end up with a main oval in the middle and then 3 curved shapes on each side. Now, let's talk about stems. There are so many different kinds of stems that you can draw for your pumpkin. I encourage you to be creative and kind of choose one that you like, or you could even make up your own. We have short, strong stems. There are curved stems that kind of swoop over like a little candy cane or a witch's hat. Next, I was thinking to do kind of a pointed stem to the left. Or, here's another idea. Three-dimensional stem on the top. You can really use any of these, or if you have your own idea, that's totally fine. To make the stems look a little more realistic, I want you to add lines. These are called contour lines. They go up the shape and they don't cross. They follow the shape to give it a little more texture and a little more form. So there's 4 stem choices for you. You don't have to draw the choices, I'm just showing you. Then I want to talk about leaves next. Also, that's not like hair on my arm, it's just like a really fuzzy shirt I was wearing. Anyway, here is how you would draw a curved leaf, kind of like a big wide raindrop, and you do a line up the middle and then V shapes going down and then back up. Any leaf can be drawn like that. It's kind of like a simple little cartooning trick. You might also notice that pumpkin patch leaves, they're a little bit spikier and pointier if you want yours to be a little more true to the shape. I actually, when I picked mine for this drawing, I tried to combine both of those, and at first it looked really weird, but then in the end, it turned out okay. So let me show you. Here's my pumpkin. So I decided to go with the wider on the bottom, curving up a little bit, with the oval on the top, like the three-dimensional one, just because I wanted to be a little more extra and fancy with my drawing. Then I added those contour lines to give it some more texture. And you could do a leaf on either side. I chose to do it on the left side. So I curve the lines out. Mine looks a little fancy. It's okay, you can draw your leaf however you want. Then down the center for the main vein line. And the V shapes that connect in the middle. Fixing it up. Now, to add a little extra detail to my drawing, I decided to try and spike out those leaves from the edge. You don't have to do this. I was just trying to make it a little bit fancier and see how it would turn out. I was like, do I like this? I don't know. I'm not going to erase the whole thing because it looks pretty good. I guess I'll see how it looks when I color it. It turned out pretty good. Right now it looks a little weird, but that's okay. That's what happens in drawing. Sometimes you think something looks strange and it ends up turning out great. So on the right side, I wanted to add a little vine and a bigger looping vine. So I left a space where the loop was. See that space? And then I did a copycat line following my original line. Made it go behind to give the illusion of space, and voila! My beautiful pumpkin with a weird leaf. Looks pretty good. I'm pretty happy. Here's the oil pastels. These are like kind of a different kind than you have, but they're pretty much the same thing. My yellow is already dirty from another drawing, so I took a paper towel and cleaned it off by twisting the pastel in a paper towel. It's getting there. See all that orange that came off? Oh my goodness. So then I just took it again in a fresh spot, did a little twist, and my oil pastel is nice and clean and ready to go. Except for that little spot. Oh, there we go. Now it's time to start coloring our pumpkin, and you might just want to go crazy and just color the whole thing orange, but here's a little more advanced way to do it. You take your oil pastel and you start at the top and you start following the edges and the shapes that we already have. So I'm kind of tracing up halfway, making the bottom and the top darker than the center. Going to be kind of like streaking lines up. This is a little bit more of an advanced drawing and coloring technique than you might be used to, but trust me, it ends up looking really, really cool. You might want to watch me do this whole section first and then try yours, or if you want to work along with me and pause as you go, that's also fine. So we're just going to basically darken the bottom and the top with our orange, very carefully going over each line, leaving the central area lighter. Notice how I go over each line a couple of times. I'm pushing like medium pressure so that it allows a little bit more of the oil pastel to catch onto the paper. And my paper got a little wrinkled over there on the left, but I'm just going to ignore that. For the last edges, I traced over the whole thing to kind of complete the pumpkin. Go back over the bottom. Get it nice and bright. You want to add a lot of layers of color. And then we're going to kind of do something similar with the top. And then we're going to start lightly coloring. Not the whole thing. It's really important that you don't do the whole thing at this point. Just kind of expanding the top and expanding that colored area on the bottom of your page. You're going to do this for a little while and just building up your colored areas so that we have color coming up and down. So what I do with this technique is I kind of push and lift the pastel. So it's like a push and lift kind of method. And I'm getting the edge again. See how the center is starting to look illuminated? I went really lightly over my lines. Very, very light pressure there. Still allowing that center area to be the white of the page. Really darkening the bottom, kind of darkening the edges. See, this is how artists add color. They don't just slap it on. They gradually build up in layers. Then I'm doing an even lighter layer, building towards that really light center. Super light, super light. Just a couple of very, very light, like barely touching the page lines. There we go. I know this probably seems really long because it is. It's a long process. Next, you'll need that yellow that we cleaned earlier. Now this is where it starts to get really fun. You're going to add bright, bright yellow to the center of the pumpkin in all of the sections. And you can overlap the orange and you'll see it starting to mix on your page too, which is pretty cool. Getting all those areas. And you're probably thinking, I don't know if I like this. It looks really yellow. Just wait till we blend. I promise it's gonna look super awesome. So now I'm going over that spot where the orange and the yellow meet, and I'm mixing the oil pastel on the page. This is going to give you a really warm, really, really kind of soft blended effect. And this is why my yellow was so dirty. See how it's getting dirty again? If you need to clean it, you can. But I mean, it's okay because we're using orange and yellow only. So in order to preserve that brightness, I did end up cleaning mine again. Then next, because I didn't have a Q-tip with me, I just took a paper towel and I rolled it up. And I'm essentially just making my own blending tool. So I took the pointy end and twisted it. So this is going to be our blending tool. And get ready to blend. This looks so cool and satisfying. You're pushing the orange from the bottom up into the yellow. And it's going to start to look really, really awesome. And then you do the same thing from the top down. I like to just work across the pumpkin area and then take my blending tool and pull that color down. Oh, it's so satisfying and fun. Now, if you ended up using crayons instead of oil pastels, you can still do this. It won't be as much of a blend, but it does still work a little bit. If you ended up having to use colored pencil because that's all you had, that's okay. You just overlap the colors. It won't really blend that much with a paper towel, but you can certainly try it. Look at that pumpkin. It looks so three-dimensional. Next, you're going to take some green and kind of freestyle do your leaf and stem. What I like to do is kind of just outline the whole edge with dark green, and then I get the details in the middle. Get each of the veins. Next, I'm going to take my yellow again, clean it off because we don't want orange in our leaf, unless you want it to look like the leaf is starting to go brown, then that would work. But I did take the yellow and color in between the sections, and at first it's going to look a little strange, but once you blend, it's going to look really cool. You don't want to use that same orange spot on the leaf. You want to take your paper towel, kind of flip it around, get a new fold. This is the same paper towel, or you can use the other end of a Q-tip, and blend each of those little sections in one at a time. If you just rub the whole leaf, it's going to just blur it out and get rid of any of the detail and definition that we have created. Ta-da! That was pretty easy. Next, I'm going to do the stem. I think you could use oil pastel, or I had these colored pencils laying around because the stem is so tiny. Oh, sorry for the camera shake. Because the stem is so small, it's easier to do those details with colored pencils. So I just took a brown and started going over the lines that I drew. Looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. Oh yeah, I was waving my hand because I was going to put this in a time lapse because, yeah, I did a little shadow on the bottom and some grass. Ta-da! A beautiful pumpkin drawing for you to show your family and enjoy. I'm happy with the way it turned out.